ReconCast, Episode 5. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of ReconCast. Thanks so much for joining us today. I have a special treat for everyone. Today, we're going to be doing a new segment from ReconCast. This is called ReconReviews. So we're going to go ahead and cover an assignment that we had earlier, had to do with movies. So, but before I get into it too much, I had to bring in some special assistance to get this assignment done. I invited my dearest and those closest to me, my family. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce them all to you now. First, I'll introduce my son, Corbin.
Hello, everybody.
Also joining me is my oldest daughter, Belle.
Hello.
And I also brought along Cadence, not the youngest here. Well, the youngest here, but not the youngest daughter in the family. Cadence.
Hi.
Hello. All right, or sis.
Or sis.
You do go by sis sometimes. Occasionally. So what we have in store for everyone today is what we like to do is just talk about with you an assignment that we had recently that we talked about as a family. Right?
Yeah.
And this assignment was basically that we wanted an excuse to go to the movies.
That's pretty much what it was.
Kind of something like that. Yeah, I'd be like, Dad, we want to go to the movies. And then it really turned into, okay, well, we'll go to the movies, but here's the deal. Here's the deal. The deal is, if we're going to go to the movies, and by the way, they're having a double feature. It was really a triple feature, but we didn't want to go to all
We didn't want to watch
that
much
movies, so we ended up going to the double feature. The double feature being the special for Captain America, Winter Soldier, and then also Civil War.
The newest one.
Right, the newest one. So the deal was, we'll go see the movies, but what?
We have to write a review.
We have to write a paper.
Yeah, I think it was also like a personal deal, too. It's like, I will watch these movies if I write a review, just for, like, each person.
Yeah.
But it did take a little while for some people's reviews to finally roll out.
Yeah, it took me till this week to get my last one out. So I had to try to get this last one out this week. But you guys had done yours earlier already.
Well,
yeah, I think mine said it. I had it done like a few weeks ago.
Yeah, mine was done quite a few weeks ago. Like, within a week. Yeah, June 18th.
Yeah. And
mine was done like 2 days after your first one was done. So.
Yeah, so we basically just kind of wrote about characters is what we decided to do. We broke up the movie into characters, right? So everybody got a couple characters, right?
Yep.
So
I think we picked one, and then one was assigned to us.
Usually I assigned them.
you were supposed to get a character from each movie, but somehow Belle ended up with nobody in the first movie. So it's just like popcorn time.
I totally did not do that on purpose.
Oh,
Sure you did
okay. You got to sit there and eat the popcorn. You were scratching. I missed half the movie scratching on a piece of paper. Okay.
Yeah, I'm scratching notes in the dark.
No,
Mind you.
it was darker in the second movie though, and that was a pain.
That was a
I
big
felt really
pain.
embarrassed because there was like somebody behind us in the theater, and I was holding my notebook up so I could write because the door was open. Okay, and there's a guy who's like, I can't see the movie. Like,
The person behind you can't see the movie because you're holding your paper
my
up
notebook is in the way.
to see the light. Yeah. Well, I kept my notebook down, but I had Captain America for both movies. I'm literally writing nonstop.
What did you have? You had like 4 pages for the first one and like 12 for the second one or something?
Yeah, there was a lot for the second one. I was surprised at how many more notes I got for the second one than for the first one. A lot of the research that I did, I mean, I had already seen both movies, but a lot of the research I did for the first movie, The Winter Soldier, there was a ton of stuff online. Like, there's just tons and tons of information online already about Winter Soldier. But Civil War, there wasn't nearly as much.
Probably just because it just came out.
Yeah, probably.
Nobody had the time to write it.
I didn't take that many notes for the first one just because my character, even though the story really evolved around him, there wasn't that much to say about him, so I just took some notes here and there for the first one.
Okay, so great. So then we go to the movies and we get our notes, and the idea...
We ate popcorn.
We ate popcorn.
And had soda.
We ate candy. And then the idea was for us to come back home and to write these assignments and for us to kind of discuss what kind of situation their characters had and what the Bible says about the particular situation that these people got themselves into, and our analysis of how they responded and maybe how they should have responded, what was good or what was bad. And we were kind of just trying to find out what was really good in the movie and what was valuable, what was redeemable, because we just felt like the superhero movies were kind of catching a lot of flack, a lot of negative stuff.
Yeah, we did have the intent of trying to find as much or as how many things we could find that were actually good about the story instead of having a negative outlook from the very beginning.
Yeah, so I think that we kind of accomplished that, right? So, all right, so we're going to go ahead and just review here, and we'll kind of go over basically what we found out. Okay? All right, so for the first movie here, we're going to talk about Winter Soldier. So Captain America, Winter Soldier. What do you guys got? Sis, what do you got?
Really, just the first one. You meet Falcon, and I think Natasha, but I don't remember.
She was an earlier
very well.
She came in Iron Man 2.
Right, there you go. But you met Falcon.
This is the movie where Falcon actually shows up in the entire universe.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So what do you kind of learn about him?
Know that he's loyal. He likes to run, but Captain's way faster than him. Like, really cool. He has a backpack that has like wings, like a flying backpack.
The bird costume.
He says he's a pilot, but he...
Oh, no, he never mentioned pilot.
He said he flies.
He flies.
Oh, well, he originally said that he lost his wingman, and that's all he said.
Right.
So.
Right.
And Captain added in the word pilot.
Pilot, and he said, I never said pilot. Okay,
Yeah.
He said, I thought you were a pilot. I said, I never said pilot.
Yeah.
I said I could fly. But,
okay.
He lost his friend, but...
And then he got out of the Marines, I'm pretty sure it was, and started helping other people who had been through trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was helping people in post-traumatic stress disorder. And then he ends up getting involved with the captain, and the captain kind of like goes off on this tangent for all this weird stuff, and then Sam kind of comes back in when Captain's in trouble, basically, and he doesn't have anybody.
Right.
We can
Well, it's Cap and Natasha.
Right, yeah, and both of them together, they're...
Because they just, like, snuck out of a bunch of bad guys.
And they're saying, hey,
Pretty
there's
cool.
nobody that I know that isn't trying to kill me right now except you.
Except for
so
you.
Can I hide with you, and hopefully nobody will come and kill you, too.
Yeah. So what other important stuff did you learn about Sam?
He has his backpack. That's really the coolest part about him. He's not very good at his fighting. Either he might be good at it, but Captain and Natasha are way better at it.
It could also be that he hasn't done it in a long time.
Right, yes. Because
he
been
is
helping
retired.
people with, like, disorder.
Yeah. Yeah, he was like a civilian, basically, for a while.
Mm-hmm. So he has need to work on it, because he's...
So his fighting style, it wasn't as good in that first movie.
Right, as it is in Civil War.
Okay. What about his character? What do we think about that?
He's loyal.
Mm-hmm. Was he, like, defending good, or was he... Like, did he make good... What were his decisions? What kind of decisions did he make?
Well, he chose to help Captain.
All right, that's good.
Very good thing. If he didn't do that, the movie would not have ended up that well.
Yeah, was this the one where he kind of said, like, his little brother...
Yeah, where Cap follows him around like a dog.
He follows Cap around.
Yeah.
Right.
You could think of it as like a little brother relationship.
He's like, yeah, I just do what he does, but slower.
Right, he does. That's exactly what he said. I do it. He does just.
Yeah, I think you made a good point though in your blog that you said that he does do what Cap does, but he doesn't have to.
Yes, he has a choice, but he still does it.
He has a choice of who he wants to work with or who he wants to help, and he makes a conscious decision about that, right?
Yeah, right here, Captain says, you know you don't have to come with me, right? And then he says back, I know. When do we start? So he has his choice.
Okay.
But he still does it.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Okay, so that's that was Falcon in the first one. Anything about Natasha from Winter Soldier as well?
She's really cool. She's kind of like a ninja.
Like a ninja?
No, she's a spy.
Mm-hmm.
Just like an all-around secret agent, you could say.
Completely secret. Completely secret.
I think she has a very complex character because she has been through so many changes in her life. She was first an orphan, and she went to this private school that basically taught her how to do all these things. And the only way that she could graduate is if she killed somebody, which was in the Ultron. It was showing all those backflashes of her. And so she's had to live with being against America and then all of a sudden turning and being with America in all this.
Because she was like a Russian spy originally.
Yeah, she wasn't. She's not even. I don't even know if she's a citizen now. Maybe it doesn't really say.
Yeah, it doesn't really say all that much, but she is very curious.
Yeah, she and there was some stuff that came up when I was talking about Captain, because she ends up it seems like she can go both sides a lot. Like she can go with with Nick Fury, or she can go with Cap, or she can go with
Iron Man,
or she can go with Tony, or and she'll go back and forth. But you get the impression that there's a little bit of a pull towards her, more towards the virtuous hero protagonist side, right?
Yeah.
But she does kind of seem to be on both sides a little bit.
Which extremely shows up in the Civil War.
Yeah, it shows up a lot more.
Back and forth between teams.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Great. And then we'll talk about that when we get to the next movie. Okay. So Belle got off scot-free on this movie.
Woo!
All right. So Corbin, you had Bucky Barnes, aka
Winter Soldier.
the Winter Soldier.
For the first movie that I watched, because as I said, Bucky he didn't really do much talking in the movie, so I more of just took down notes of the relationship between Captain and Bucky and how they were interacting, and how Captain America and why Captain America was making the choices that he did because of Bucky's previous actions and all that, and how it relates to the story as a whole. And so I think the biggest question that was about Bucky is that he obviously he was an assassin for Hydra, and is he liable and responsible for those deaths that he committed, or is Hydra, because he was obviously brainwashed after he was thought to be killed in action during World War II. And so it's because Hydra used him as a weapon of death against his free will, is he responsible, or is Hydra responsible ultimately?
Right, because then your point that you're making is he got turned into an instrument.
Yes.
Of a corrupt organization.
Yes, and I think that's why I think I mentioned that in my blog, where I said he became a tool used by Hydra against his will, which is it wasn't his choice, and he couldn't choose if he was going to comply or what he was going to do, because he had no free will.
This was a tough one, right? And we kind of were trying to really figure this out, rack our brains about what's the right way to kind of look at this, and we were kind of going back and forth about, is he responsible, is he culpable for the deaths that he's caused, or is he not exercising his will in this case, and so therefore he's not morally responsible because he's not actually trying to do these things.
Yes, and he has, obviously, when he got hit on the head, he started to kind of just what, and he kind of just came back at the end of the movie.
Yeah. And then all that development really came in the Civil War movie.
Yeah, more of the
development of his of him coming back out of that,
because he obviously wasn't in the second Avengers, so the rest of his story or the next step in his story came in the second Civil War.
In Civil War.
Second Civil War.
Well, in the second movie.
Civil War.
All right, cool. Okay, anything else then for Bucky in that first movie?
Well, the rest of it is probably going to be explained in the Civil War.
Okay. All right. That leads to me, to Dad, and I had Captain America.
Gonna be here for a while.
So there was a lot going on here, and the more that I kind of dwelled on the movie and thought about Captain in this particular feature, the more and more I liked him. The more I liked him.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I already liked him, so I was like, let's like him some more.
I already liked him, but now I'm seeing a lot more of the reasons why he's making the decisions that he's making, and some of that stuff comes up very early in the movie where you see he gets sent on that operation, and then that's when he finds out that Black Widow, Natasha, is doing something else, and it's not helping out the primary mission that he was sent there for.
It's
It's
not helping at all. It's actually making it worse.
Right.
He wasn't
They
that
almost
happy.
both got killed.
Yeah, it's endangering the entire operation, and Cap is like, okay, we need to take care of this situation we're in, but like we're not done yet. Like, what the heck is going on? And then that's when he finds out that Nick Fury had authorized the secondary.
Cap was not happy.
The secondary motive of the whole thing without telling Captain.
Right. So this initial interaction there, Cap is he kind of confronts Nick about the situation, and he discusses with him about, hey, we're soldiers together, and we need to be able to trust each other.
To be able to communicate.
Right. Like, we need to make sure that everyone is on the same page here. Right. And he says that, this is his quote, it says, soldiers trust each other. That's what makes it an army, not a bunch of guys running around and shooting guns.
Which I think lays down a very solid foundation for the worldview that he has of how he thinks he should act as an individual and also as the leader of the Avengers, and how he believes his team should behave when confronted with problems or missions that they need to accomplish.
Right, and then this also obviously ties into the whole idea of the Avengers and how they need to trust each other, right? You know, like how he runs that team as well. But this was kind of, this wasn't necessarily focused on the Avengers. The Winter Soldier part was. But so he gets in this interaction with Nick, and Nick Fury, and Nick is just kind of like, well, you know, I trusted somebody once, and it cost me an eye. And he pulls back the thing, and I'm thinking about it after the fact, and I'm like, so what? You know, you lost an eye, therefore we don't have to trust each other.
Therefore,
what we
trust
do?
is just don't ever trust anyone because you might lose eyeballs or something.
Right, just because whoever that person was who made him lose an eye, he didn't trust him, doesn't mean that nobody else in the whole world is.
Right, and not only that, but I can manipulate all of you to do what I want to do and not tell you what I'm trying to do because I lost an eye.
He obviously kind of trusted Natasha to give her that assignment. And not
well, I think it was just an assignment that he gave her that he wanted done, and there was some information about something that he needed.
Right, either that and Cap would have done something to stop
Well, yeah,
her.
Cap definitely would have questioned him about it, right? Like that's the whole issue. So what this kind of leads to is now this leads to, okay, well, what else is Nick hiding? What else does he have? You know, and then you just think about S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, man, S.H.I.E.L.D. just seems like very covert. You know, we're not going to tell you what we're doing. We always have these secret things that are going on,
which causes you not to trust them.
Not trust them even more.
Which makes you lose an eye.
Right? Because a lot of men lose eyes everywhere, right? Okay, so basically, then now Nick Fury reveals, okay, well, this is a project that we've been working on, and then you kind of understand. You see these gigantic helicarriers with these huge guns And then Nick is so proud of himself. He's just like, look at this, what I created. I'm so happy.
I don't
He's
think
like, we're
Nick's
going to
that
neutralize
Southern.
a lot of threats.
Right, he says we're going to neutralize a lot of threats before they
gonna
become
cause
threats. So he's starting to... So this is like, this little part of the movie made me think about the Minority Report.
Yeah, you're like, wait.
I'm like, wait a minute. Wait, so you're going to like kill off the bad guys
Before
they're bad?
Why don't you try and stop them from doing bad?
I don't think that's necessarily what he meant. I think they got the DNA samples of all of the terrorists, and when they stepped out of, say, a cave where they were hiding, the helicarriers be able to say, hey, their DNA is an open shot. Boom.
Now, maybe that would have been the case, but then as the movie progresses and Hydra ends up doing all their bad stuff, they just start targeting a lot of just random people. And so it kind of makes you think that, is that only after Hydra took over control, or was it originally also going to be intended that, and that's what his intention was in the first place?
Well, it does bring in some different ideas about, do we have the right to just go ahead and start killing people without some sort of due process? This is obviously not a combat situation. We're just like start assassinating people left and right because of what we're doing. It's kind of what he's thinking. But what happens is that, so Cap initially is like, he's like, well, this is not a good idea. I don't, usually we're not going to punish people before they commit crimes. And then Nick says we can't afford to wait that long. So he kind of like acknowledges this. We're not going to wait for crimes to happen. We're going to take dudes out that seem to be a threat. Right? So that seems kind of odd.
I get the impression that Nick is like Ali said, is talking about the terrorists, as you could say. If you think about it as a situation where a terrorist is about to go Allah Akbar and the Harrier shoots them while the threat is about to take place, even though they are, about to blow themselves up, that would be a way to stop the threat. But if he means just going around shooting people who will do stuff like that in the next 10 years,
before they're doing it, yeah,
before they even start doing it, then that is where the line would be drawn, and that is wrong.
Right, like you're waiting for them to pose a threat before you eliminate the threat, right? So Nick says, S.H.I.E.L.D. takes the world as it is, not as we'd like it to be. It's getting damn near past time for you to get with that program, Cap, when basically he's talking about holding a gun at everyone on Earth and calling it protection, which is what Cap says to him. And the idea that S.H.I.E.L.D. is the one who's holding the trigger. So Cap is kind of conflicted, so he goes and he talks to his old flame, I guess you could say, back when she was young and he was young. Talks to Peggy Carter, and he talks about basically he's not really sure what to do. And I thought this was a great development for Cap because he's so used to always just following orders, right? Like that was
that's
his
right.
whole...
The very first Captain America movie, he was trying to become a soldier. And when he actually became a soldier, then he's just following orders and doing what he needs to be done. And so he's not really... At this point, he hasn't quite become, like, the leader of Avengers yet.
Yeah, because, he used to just do what he was told because he was a World War II soldier, but now he's having to...
Giving orders.
Well, not just giving orders, but he has to think about the orders he's being given. And not necessarily just say, okay, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. But, like he said when he was talking to Peggy, for as long as I can remember, I just wanted to do what was right. And so now this following orders isn't the same for him anymore. And she says sometimes all we can do is our best, and sometimes the best we can do is to start over. Which is interesting considering the fact that S.H.I.E.L.D. basically just has to... well, you find out here, like Corbin said through the movie, that S.H.I.E.L.D. has been totally corrupted, right?
Spoiler!
So, yeah, so S.H.I.E.L.D. is totally corrupted, and they basically just had to... And so Cap is like, okay, well, now that I know it's been corrupted, I'm going to take it down, right?
Yeah.
So he's going to take it down, and that's basically the entire theme there behind what they're doing. So then he spends the rest of the movie taking down S.H.I.E.L.D., runs into the Winter Soldier, which was his Bucky, his buddy. That was another spoiler. Sorry, we didn't let you know. The movie came out years ago. So don't worry about it.
If you're watching this, you just need to be aware there are lots of spoilers.
And we just passed, like
So there's this interesting part where he he basically gets ostracized by S.H.I.E.L.D., and they are saying, okay, Cap is not on our side anymore. And there's all these people that work there for this company, and they're like, what? I thought Cap was like a good guy. But they don't realize that their organization has been corrupted.
They don't realize that Cap is the
Alexander
good guy, and they're working for the bad
is the leader of this.
Right.
Of
working
this,
for the bad guy.
Yeah, of the entire bad negative S.H.I.E.L.D. Hydra movement. So Cap kind of goes out on a limb and he goes and tells everybody, he's saying S.H.I.E.L.D., Hydra, it all goes, right? Because Nick wants to like save some of it. And Cap's like, nope, we're going to wipe it. We're going to start over. Okay? And so he says, I know I'm asking a lot, but the price of freedom is high. It always has been. It's a price I'm willing to pay. And if I'm the only one, then so be it. But I'm willing to bet that I'm not.
That was his speech.
That was like
his Shield.
His super inspirational
and everyone's
speech.
just like, oh.
They're like, let's go destroy them. Right?
And all of the Hydra people are like, oh no.
Yeah, so then it starts into a big, like
People start moving.
a S.H.I.E.L.D. civil war.
Yeah, really.
It is what it is. So, cool. So that's what I thought. And I thought that the movie in general is a great template because you see Cap defending liberty, defending freedom, defending people's ability to choose, even if people think they're going to make bad choices. Okay, so be it, but we don't stop those threats until they make those choices, right? We give people the benefit of the doubt. We know that God, now this is our biblical worldview, that God can change hearts and minds, and you never know when that's going to happen. And until you have to meet that threat and suppress that threat, then you do so. But you don't preempt whatever it is that God might be doing.
Absolutely.
Right?
And not only that, but Cap, when he did his speech, he encouraged everyone to take a stand for what was right, and he encouraged them to fight the evil that was being corrupted. So that's why you saw the different sides of Hydra, people loyal to Hydra and people loyal to the S.H.I.E.L.D., and they start, fighting each other, trying to get the helicarriers from not taking off.
Right. All right. So that's it for the Winter Soldier portion. And right now we'll go ahead and we'll take a break, and we'll come right back after this short little intermission. We'll talk about Civil War.
Woo!
Yay!
This is our break, and it is sponsored and brought to you by Extreme Dad. Because being a dad is always extreme. ExtremeDad.com. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. It's not an ExtremeDad.com.
It'd be really cool if there was, though.
It'd be really cool if there was. Maybe we'll have to make an ExtremeDad.com.
That'd be pretty cool, though.
But go to ReconstructionLife.com, YouTube channel. See Extreme Dad.
This is the second commercial for Young Men with Purpose, the awesomest, coolest blog for young men that there is. And I encourage you all to go there and check out my blog and see what I've written about a bunch of different topics. And some of it is just what I think about my school and how I believe it interacts with the world and all the other problems that we have and the good things about the world that we should try to, encourage, and the bad stuff that we should try to fix and reconstruct for God, because that's what we are supposed to do. Go check out youngmenwithpurpose.reconstructionlife.com and subscribe and comment on anything you want. I would love to talk to you.
All right, everybody, welcome back here. We're back from our commercial break. So getting back into the second portion of our show, we're going to be talking more Recon reviews. We're discussing movies here now. So now we're going to go over Captain America Civil War, the second part of our double feature movie extravaganza. Gonna keep it moving here. We got a lot more stuff that we did on the second movie, a lot newer, and we had more characters we were covering. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get right back to it. First one up we had here, who do we have? Let's go ahead and do Scarlet Witch. Who had Scarlet Witch? All right, so tell us, what did you find out about Scarlet Witch?
Well, Scarlet Witch had a very troubled beginning. Her parents were killed. Thank you, Corbin. Her parents were killed by a Tony Stark bomb, and she and her brother were going to be killed as well. But the bomb that killed her parents was a dud, so she didn't, and her brother didn't die. And in order to get payback on Tony, she and her brother volunteered themselves to be tested with Loki's staff, and it imbued them with strange powers. And
this is kind of backstory.
Backstory, yeah.
Right.
But Wanda survived the Ultron attack on Sokovia, but her brother did not. And so she's been learning to become an Avenger after that.
Which means
After she was converted and all this other, and she realized that she was wrong to try to take vengeance back on Tony Stark, and you see, and all that happens in the second Avengers, Age of Ultron, yeah.
Right.
But even from the beginning, Wanda, also known as Scarlet Witch, is a very powerful person to deal with. Like, she has that hoodoo muju magic that can make everybody angry and turn Bruce Banner into the Hulk.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with my hoodoo muju.
very hoodoo muju-y. Muju muju.
And by the time of the second time you see her in Civil War, she can fly. Like, in the first one, she couldn't. She can just hoodoo muju, but now she can fly.
You're like, wow, she just harnessed a lot of these awesome powers. You're like, who is this girl? I love her.
Now you're like, whoa, she's my favorite.
Well, that, and a lot of people are very scared of her because of her great jump in power, because she's super, super powerful.
Right.
She can just defeat Vision, which is like, he's the best.
He's the Vision.
Yeah, which is pretty crazy because Vision, like, he is the freaking jewel. Like, he has the jewel in his head.
He's got one of the 4 Infinity Stones, and you're like, what?
In his head.
On your face.
And she was created by the stone, and she's more powerful than him?
Yeah, weird.
He was holding it, and she was given a little smidget of it.
That's funny. Her powers were given to her by the stone that is in the Vision's face. But I mean, before it was in his face, but obviously that's still cool.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, and the only one who isn't really afraid of her is Vision, and he probably gets more afraid in a little bit, and Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
And Hawkeye. And, well, at the beginning of the movie, things don't start out very well for her. She's learning how to be kind of paranoid, like not Scarlet Witch, good grief. Black Widow. Paranoid like her. Mm-hmm. Being, like, always watching your back and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, she gets kind of like that.
Yeah, but she, attempting to save Captain America from a bomb vest that was on, I think it was Crossbones? Yeah, Crossbones. She shot it up into the air, and while saving the whole crowd on the ground, and Captain America and herself, it hit a building and killed several Wakandans that were there.
12 people.
12 Wakandans
Except
that were there.
12 natives of whatever country they were in at the time, and then also a couple Wakandans, which is what pretty much was what started the Civil War movie.
Right. Yeah, this was kind of like the major driving force behind the movie.
Right. I mean, but
the event that caused it.
She got pretty upset, even though maybe 12 people might have died, but she saved the whole crowd on the ground.
Right. She saved all these people, but she's
everyone is so mad at her for that.
Yeah, they're like, you just saved my life. Now
Well,
I'm going to sue you.
I think that's kind of the whole point, right? Is that, like, the media and stuff is like, these guys are dangerous. They're killing people. They are careless. But that's not the way it happened. That's not how things go down, right? So
not to mention the fact that if they weren't there at all, how many people would have died in the first place if the Crossbones had got his hands on what he was trying to get?
Yeah, well, even if the bomb had blown up, then they all would have died, plus all those people on the ground. You know, who knows?
And it was so close to the building, probably some of the people on the bottom of the building would have died too.
Right.
Instead of just 12 people, but the media still got them. They took a very negative way to it.
Majority of it was because of the Wakandans, which were visiting that country, and Wakanda is like a very remote country. Nobody leaves there except those guys who got killed instantly when they left. And so everyone was like, "Oh my goodness, they're murderers!"
Right. So she becomes very conflicted, right?
Yes.
Because she feels guilty. She ends up feeling guilty probably because she's watching all the media and stuff.
Yes, she
Yeah,
was.
why did she watch
And
all the media?
Captain was able to help her kind of get through that. And he was saying, being a part of who we are means that we try to save everybody, but that doesn't mean everybody gets saved. We try to save a lot of people, it doesn't mean everybody.
We save who we can, that doesn't mean everybody.
Yeah.
Right, and this was an important part, something that I had covered when I did my aspect for Captain America. But yeah, it was the whole idea of, hey, what are we supposed to do? We try to save as many people as we can. Sometimes that doesn't mean everybody, but if we can't find a way to live with that, next time maybe nobody can be saved.
Yeah.
Right. So he's trying to help her out to say, hey, if we didn't do anything, then maybe nobody would have lived.
Yes. That was definitely true in that case.
Right.
And later the Accords were written, and she believes that partly they were written because of her, because of the incident that she created. And also, after Captain America left and went into hiding with some of the other his team members, Scarlet Witch was left behind, and she was placed under house arrest by Tony Stark. Mm-hmm. And Captain America did not like that at all. And she didn't like that very much either, but it was said Vision was supposed to there to protect her, but more like guard her. And he said it was because so that another incident wouldn't happen again.
Right. Like it was her fault that the bomb blew up, which just seems like ridiculous. I don't know why. Yeah. Vision was pretty terrible, I think, overall in this movie. And I had Vision. I thought that, he was... he didn't have very much dialogue. I mean, he has like all these crazy powers like a demigod, but as far as his contribution to the movie, I thought it was pretty weak. Maybe he's not scared of Scarlet Witch or whatever, but he's just basically saying, there's bad things that are happening, but these bad things haven't happened since we started getting involved, meaning the Avengers, right? Since Tony and Wanda, and he kind of insinuates the same thing about the Scarlet Witch, that all these bad things are happening because of us, because we're here and we're around, and this is what I kind of talked about mine, and I was like, whoa, this is like the most obvious logical fallacy that I could ever even conceive of for a person who's basically supposed to be, well, he's not even a person. I don't even know what he is.
He's like Jarvis's,
but he's supposed to be like super smart, right? Very logical.
Android.
Yeah, it's like very logical. You're supposed to understand if this, then that, then that, then that. And, he should very much understand that just because one event preceded another doesn't necessarily mean that preceding event caused the thing that followed it. That's not how things work, Just because the sun went down today doesn't mean it was because I had coffee this morning. Like every night the sun goes down. Well, every morning I'm having coffee. Like that's not the reason the sun's going down, because I'm, drinking my cup of Joe, cup of me. So anyways, I didn't have much else to say about Vision. I thought his was pretty terrible.
I had already thought that Vision was already pretty just kind of terrible, because when he first shows up in the first movie, the second Avengers, he came into existence and said that he was I Am. And I was kind of just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Wait.
That's pretty
Now I was like, I'm not sure exactly what he's implying, but if he's implying what I think he's implying, then I definitely do not like him.
Right.
And he should totally just,
Yeah, he's got a whole lot of this, he's got a major deity complex.
Yeah, he seems to think that he's like a god.
Yeah, he seems to think he's a lot more than he is, but he's making pretty terrible elementary level.
So, Vision, there's only one God, and that's not you.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't wear a cape. As Captain America would say.
But one of the main things about Wanda is when Hawkeye is coming to try to break her out of the house arrest, she doesn't want to leave at first because she doesn't want to hurt anybody. And Hawkeye helps her to understand that if she doesn't go out and help, then she is hurting people by not going. And she then has to stop Vision from stopping her.
Right.
And Vision then is telling her that no, everyone will continue to be afraid of you if you do this. And she says to him, I cannot control their fear, only my own. Mm-hmm. And that's a big breakthrough with her, because she's always been afraid of making other people afraid of her.
Right.
Or what other people thought of her in general.
Right. And what she should be worried about is making the right decision.
No matter what.
No matter what. And then letting people be whatever they're going to be. It's not really your problem. Your problem is to do what you're supposed to do.
That's right.
Right. Okay. Cool. All right. Okay, so now we can go back to Falcon and Black Widow. Sis, did you have anything else for them on the second movie?
So here in the second movie, they're not as main. They're more kind of background because this is really evolving around Bucky and Tony and Captain. But they are still in it. So Falcon now has a little drone pet bird thingy.
That's really awesome.
A robot bird.
Yeah, he's got a flying backpack.
A robot-controlled flying backpack.
He's got a UAV.
Basically, yeah. You're like, I want one.
And he
he names the thing.
yeah, he's named it.
All right, what is he?
Its name is Red.
Red. Okay.
I think he tries
Sounds
to.
like
I think he tries to
Rover
get.
to me.
I think he tries to get Cap to pet it or something. I don't know.
No, he
tries
tries
to
to
get
get
Black Widow
Natasha
to
to
pet
pet it.
Natasha to pet it.
After it saves her,
After
right?
it saves her, she's like, thanks, Falcon. Like, yeah, don't thank me. He's like, I'm not thanking that thing.
Yeah.
His name's Red.
It's not a thing. Is
Pet him,
it?
he's cute.
Does it have like AI or anything or?
No, I think it's just remotely controlled.
Okay, I think it's
It has
remotely
a
controlled,
camera
right?
through.
Yeah, but
Okay,
in the
look-
comics, it was an actual bird. That's what they're implying. They
Okay.
didn't actually have an actual bird because that would make the whole movie take way
Okay.
longer.
That would be like me naming my remote control car or something.
Which would be cool.
Really weird.
If you had a remote control car,
We already
I would
name
follow
our
it.
car.
I mean, if you had
Our
a remote
cars
control
are named,
car,
Dad.
give it a name. Like,
Okay, but my car is not remote controlled. It's me controlled.
But it has Dad. It has a cruise control, which is kind of remote controlled a little bit.
That's true. I'm starting naming everything.
Yeah,
you're
but
like, look at that shoe. Its name is Sally.
Sally my shoe.
Okay, so what else did you have about Falcon?
He likes to. He'll still stay with Cap.
So he's still with Cap.
Yeah, he's with Cap through and through. He's
He's almost like a sidekick.
yeah, he's like
Yeah, I think he's a sidekick.
He's like the equivalent of
Definitely.
Robin and Captain America's Batman.
Yeah.
so like
Yeah.
yeah.
Still doing everything slower than Cap.
Yeah.
He does not like Bucky. Just
He doesn't trust him.
Doesn't trust him. He's
I don't know. Well, he doesn't know him, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's really. I mean, this is really hard to. I mean, I guess you can understand maybe why Cap still likes Bucky.
Trust him because I mean, you watch the first one, the first Captain America.
It was-
They were like totally. They grew up together. Like they were best
They
buds,
were-
and now they're both 100 years old.
they both somehow got frozen, and now they're both still the same age, but 100 years later.
70 years later.
Yeah.
It's almost 100 if you run it to go to 100.
Yeah. They're both really old.
But Falcon still doesn't like him, but he doesn't not like him enough to
Leave.
leave Captain because he likes Cap better.
Yeah. What are any other good lines in this movie? The pet him one.
Yeah, that's
that one.
really kind of it.
Got it. All right. What about Black Widow? She's a little bit more. Now she's kind of controversial in this movie now.
Oh yeah, she's kind of like, I like what Tony says, but I want to stay with Cap because
Yeah.
No, Natasha
Cap.
went with Tony. When
Right.
she was on Tony's
she
side,
Right,
likes
she
what-
likes what Tony says, but she
Yeah.
wants to stay with Cap. So she's trying to keep, trying to not get Cap hurt, and she was willing to hurt Black Panther to keep him
So-
keep him
To
from
take
getting.
care of.
Yeah.
To help.
So I think it's important to lay down what each character thought about the Sokovia Accords and when the future Red Hulk, whatever his name is, I can't remember his name.
Something Piercy.
No, that was
Piercy?
Alexander.
No, that's a different guy.
Anyway, what each Avengers response is to the Sokovia Accords, and so I think what she said was maybe Tony's right. If we have one hand on the wheel, we can still steer.
If they sign the Accords,
They'll still have some control.
they'll still have some control because they'll still be a part of the Avengers, even though the UN basically is calling the shots. So I don't know. I don't really agree with that viewpoint personally. But she obviously does. Maybe she's just trying to keep the team together. a little bit?
That's kind of
She believes that signing the Accords would be a disability to the Avengers, but at least the team could still operate. Is basically how she thinks of it.
Right. All right. Who else do we have there? Let's do Corbin. You had Bucky and Black Panther.
Yes, Bucky again. What I wrote originally could see is that how Cap thought of Bucky and how Bucky was interacting is that the United Nations resolution with Bucky with Bucky are connected. So this is Cap. How Cap thinks of it. Is that Cap's fear that giving the government control over the Avengers effectively mirrors with Barnes' storyline as a former soldier who was stripped of his free will and controlled to do morally reprehensible actions. He believes that if he accepts the Accord, then he'll be stripped of his free will and subject to the agenda of those who control him. And obviously he doesn't want the possibility of being used for evil against his will. And so Cap is torn between his friends and what was the right choice. Cap wasn't fighting for Bucky. He was fighting for what was right, obviously. And so how Bucky responds to this is that first, originally he was framed for the assassination of King T'Chaka. Now, everyone doesn't know that he was framed for that death when a news reporter's car was blown up and resulted in the death of the king. And Cap thought it necessary to protect Bucky from injustice. Now, I don't know exactly why Cap would do this if at that time the evidence stated that Bucky killed these people. So maybe he is still assuming that Bucky doesn't have control or that he was framed, obviously.
That, or it was because he heard from a mole inside of S.H.I.E.L.D., or whatever it is that they're working for now, that the people going in there to capture Bucky were going and not planning on taking him alive.
Yeah, so he thinks that the justice would not be to kill Bucky, but would be to actually give him a court, a court of law. And what Captain America says to Bucky is that what you did all those years, it wasn't you. You didn't have a choice. And Bucky replied with, "I know, but I did it." So Bucky knows that he wasn't in control and he didn't have free will when he killed all those people. And yet he still feels guilty for their deaths. Like when Tony asked him, do you even remember them? He says he remembers all of them. So he feels complete remorse for what he did, and you obviously get the full impression that if he had free will, he would have probably killed himself so that he would not be used as a tool of Hydra to kill innocent people that stood in Hydra's way. And so that's why I think that Bucky has this moral dilemma of his guilt and how he believes that he should he like give himself up or something because he committed these, or should he stay independent or try to run because it's unjust what is happening. And so Cap is defending Bucky because he knows that the way that the UN is trying to go about punishing Bucky is immoral, and that's why he's defending Bucky. And obviously that's that's how Falcon sees it, and that's how all these other people view it in a very general sense.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good deal. What about Black Panther?
With the death of King T'Chaka, T'Challa, which is the Black Panther in this movie, he becomes the next Wakandan king. And so after he loses his father, obviously, and he believes that Bucky did it, he's trying to hunt down his father's killer, or Bucky. And so because he is now blinded by his rage because of the loss of his father, he wants vengeance. And so he doesn't really care about the original problem, or the real conflict between Captain America and Tony Stark, or the Avengers, the Soviet Accords, and why their captain is running. He just knows that Bucky Barnes, his target, is on Captain America's side, so that he knows that if he's going to get Bucky Barnes, is who he wants, and he has to join the best way to do that would be to join Tony Stark in his goal to capture everyone. So that's why he's the only thing he wants is Bucky. Originally dead. He doesn't even care about justice of Bucky. He just wants Bucky dead.
No, he's just purely driven by vengeance.
Yes, and he just his vengeful murder is what he's trying to do. He doesn't care. He just wants to reach his prey. If you think of him as the Black Panther, and then towards the end of the movie, actually the very end of the movie, he discovers that Bucky was not actually the murderer of his father and was framed, and he just has this illumination that he could have killed someone innocently, who was innocent, and which would have made him a murderer, and he sees how that would have been a terrible way to judge people, and that would have made him a very bad king, you could say, and also a very bad superhero, and not one that I would want to like or admire. This is what causes him to see that vengeance was consuming everyone. It was consuming Iron Man who was also trying to get Bucky, and it's just consuming everyone. And he no longer wants to fight because of his vengeance, but he wants to do what is right, what Cap has been doing all along. And he says to Zod, I think it is Zod. No, what's the bad guy's name? Zemo. Is that vengeance has consumed you, because Zemo, he also is driven by vengeance, because in Sokovia, which is a lot of what the problem is originating from, and he lost his family, and so he blames the Avengers, and so that's why that's how he's the main bad guy. And that's how
a bunch of perpetual vengeance.
Yeah, it's just vengeance. And so T'Challa says that vengeance has consumed you, talking to Zemo, and it's consuming them. He's referring to Captain America and Iron Man and Bucky Barnes and all them. And he says, I'm done letting it consume me. Justice will come soon enough. So I see here is that he sees that he's wrong, and because he didn't actually kill Bucky, he's not guilty, obviously, of any crimes. And he sees that justice will come to everyone in the end, and it's not his job to enforce it on people, which I think is a very admirable character quality, and that's why I think that Black Panther is a admirable and respectable superhero.
Well, his development is certainly important, because it does manifest, kind of how we're supposed to view things. I mean, imagine if you saw somebody very close to you that was killed. I think the natural reaction is that you want revenge.
And not only death, but anything lesser than death, like just abuse or something like that, or raping. You'd still have just a drive that you would want to bring that person to. Well, your first original thoughts, I think, would be to just kill that person. That you want that person dead right now. But then, obviously, if you're a Christian, you know that that's wrong, and you want to see justice in a court of law take place with God's law, and how that should come about.
Right, so you should want a godly form of justice, and that is not taking vengeance on somebody. So, good. Excellent. All right, good deal. Okay, so last two here. Belle, you had Tony Stark.
Yep.
Ooh, big character.
Yep, I got 4 pages of notes.
Yeah. I don't feel sympathetic for you. You get popcorn the first minute. So what did you find out here for about Tony?
Well, apparently the movie theater should have had it with Avengers Age of Ultron and then Civil War, because a lot of the plots in this movie had to do with Sokovia and Ultron. Mm-hmm.
You saw the triple feature of the first Avengers, Captain America, and the second Captain America, and you're like, the third Captain America, second and third Captain America, and you're like, wait, but most of the story needs the second Avengers, so maybe you should just play all 4.
Yeah. It
was a bummer.
Way too many movies. So with Tony Stark, he created Ultron, and so he has all of the deaths of Sokovia on him.
Well, he feels guilty for their deaths.
He feels totally guilty. And then when a mother comes to him, blaming him blatantly for her son's death.
Charlie Spencer.
Yeah.
he feels that even more. And
I think he talked about that. He had a line here, and he said,
yeah, he did all the research on this one man that the mother's son, and he was saying, we need to be put in check, and whatever form that takes, I'm game. If we can't accept limitations, we're boundaryless, and we're no better than the bad guys.
Right.
Because he believes that if he had boundaries back then, he probably wouldn't have created Ultron, and then all those deaths wouldn't have been done, and they wouldn't have this huge problem right now.
Right. I mean, I don't even like that. You know, it's like, oh well, if someone had oversight over me, then all these bad things wouldn't have happened. Well, that's ridiculous because everybody has oversight in some way, shape, or form, and bad things sometimes still happen. You know, I mean, so he's saying that he would have made different decisions if somebody told him to do something differently. Like, do we really believe that about Tony, first of all?
No.
Like, I don't believe that about Tony. I mean, this guy doesn't listen to anybody, and he has to have his hands on everything. So even this aspect of the storyline seemed a little bit far-fetched.
Yeah, it wasn't. When I first started watching, I was like, this is not really the Tony Stark that I know or that is from the original movies.
It's more like Angst Man than Tony Stark, who's like egomaniac. You know,
well,
but still, even taking that perspective of his of the development of the character.
And then he did have some like personal issues, and so maybe that was also played a part in his attitude.
Some personal introspection. But even then, like there's been a lot of people that have died from all these things, and I think that was kind of the central thing that was kind of driving these characters, is that we are trying to save people, but some people still die.
Yes.
Right? And so Tony's response is,
make sure nobody dies.
Well, if we have oversight, then
no
what?
one will die.
Okay, well, I don't even know. I mean, would some people still die even if the UN gets involved?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then who's responsible? Are they still responsible because they were sent by the UN? Is the UN responsible because they're the ones who sent?
Well,
Wait, you can't accuse the UN.
Or does or does the culpability just disintegrate? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't just work like that. You can't just say, well, somebody sent me, therefore I'm not responsible for what I do, or they're irresponsible because they sent me. You know, like, every person still has to own their part in what it is. And even if they did, and even if the UN did send them, then what? Does that mean that you have to do what they say?
No.
I mean, you still are responsible for the choices that you make as individuals, right? Which is why we weren't going to make Bucky culpable, because he wasn't in control.
Yeah, he has stripped of his free will.
Tony is still in control. So what, if the UN takes over, then you're good? You're not responsible for the choices you make anymore?
No.
Yeah.
Because you still have the choice.
Yeah.
And he placed Wanda Maximoff under house arrest. So another public incident.
Well, I don't think he placed her under arrest. I think Theodore Ross was the one who placed her under arrest, but he just agreed with the reasons and the motives of why Theodore did that.
Yeah. And he helped defend Theodore Ross from Captain America by saying they don't give citizenship visas because Wanda Maximoff was a Sokovian citizen. They don't give citizenship visas to weapons of mass destruction.
Is what he
Right,
said.
I think they're just making an excuse. But Vision is cool. Like, Vision's okay. He's not even a person. I don't even know what he is. He's like an android machine.
What would
It's
they, what would
fine.
they,
He can
what would
go
they
and
do with
whatever
him
he
if he sided with Captain America? Like, he's not even a person. So how are you going to in court of law, you're like, huh?
Yeah. And I don't even understand why they think that they have authority over her anyway. They have zero authority over her.
Yeah,
the only
she's
thing
not
that
their
they have is
citizen.
just the fact that Tony is like, okay, yeah, we'll try to keep her. But that's the only way that
Just
he can do
becomes
it.
kidnapping, honestly.
Yeah, this is the only way that he can do it, is kind of just be like, hey, stay here. Do you want to stay here? We think you should stay here. But what, are they going to enforce it? You know, they can't stop her. I mean, number one, they can't beat her. And number two, they don't even have the authority to keep her.
Maybe they thought originally that Vision could keep her there if he needed to use force, but then they
She's
thought
way
twice.
too cool for that.
Yeah, I don't even know what's really. They didn't even talk about what's binding the team together. Like, what agreement do they have in place? They're part of the
Tony
team.
Stark's side of the team.
No, the whole Avengers.
What's
binding the Avengers together? You know, did they make an agreement? Did they sign a covenant? Did they sign a contract? Or what? You know what I mean?
I think it's just a bunch of people.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of people, and they give us a name, right? So yeah, but so the same thing happens here with the UN, right? The UN tries to say, well, we're going to control the Avengers. So
yeah, and he knew right when he was reading the Sokovia Accords that Captain America would most certainly not agree to this.
Yeah,
he just wouldn't. Yeah. That's part of his character. And Tony knew that, but he still wanted him to agree.
Right.
And
yeah, it says the Sokovia Accords basically are saying that I certify that the Avengers shall no longer operate freely or unregulated, but instead operate under the rules, ordinances, and governances of the aforementioned United Nations panel, acting only when and if the panel deems it appropriate and or necessary. Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So is the UN taking responsibility for the Avengers, or are they just saying that you can't do anything without our permission?
Yeah. So some of this stuff. So I covered this when I was doing my Cap, and I'll just jump in here. So you know, Cap now in the Civil War movie again, he's trying to save people, and so I kind of make this distinction that he is working out what the sixth commandment means, right? The sixth commandment is you shall not murder. So I have this quote here from John Calvin. Says, God not only forbids us to be murderers, but also prescribes that everyone should study faithfully to defend the life of his neighbor and practically to declare that it is dear to him. Now this is important because when you talk about the sixth commandment, you not only do we have to think about, yes, okay, I don't commit murder, but there's a responsibility for us to protect people, to protect life, right? To protect our friends or protect our family or protect other people. And so superheroes, this is what a superhero is. Like, this is what the movie's about. They have a power and they can save people.
Yes.
And they do it. And they do it. And they do save people. And always the political stuff ends up coming in. If you watch the Batman vs. Superman, that comes up a lot too. Like, well, bad things happen as you guys are trying to save us. You know, but it's basically the same kind of idea. But the point is that all men are created in the image of God, and the superhero, just like us, has a responsibility to protect people. Mm-hmm. Right? So the whole part we talked about the collateral damage, I basically just chalked it up to saying we have a responsibility to protect life. We do the best that we can. And we let God do the rest, right? You do your best, let God handle the rest.
Yes.
And that I didn't have too much more that I could have said about that as far as the sixth commandment goes.
Yeah.
As far as the Avengers trying to do their best, I thought this was the best example that when the beginning happened and the bomb happened with Scarlet Witch, whatever, the Avengers are trying to help people. They're literally trying to help and save people. And some bad stuff happens, you know, but they're not responsible for that. They're the ones that are trying to help stop the villain, and whatever was the villain did is what caused this issue, this problem.
Yeah.
Right. So, so I didn't think there was too much more that we could have said about that part, which is what leads me to saying that this signing of the Accords, the Sokovia Accords, I don't even agree with its formulation. I don't even agree. I mean, I hate government oversight anyway, but I definitely don't want the Avengers being regulated by this weird, you know, panel of people. Who's on the panel? We don't even know who the panel is, right? We have no idea who's there.
Yeah. Honestly, the big question, the reason is what upholds law and liberty is what I think is a big question that Cap has to solve. Is signing the Accords, is that upholding law and liberty for all people, and how the superheroes, the Avengers, think about this big question, the Sokovia Accords?
Yeah, well, what I thought was a great aspect, and if you think about it, we just got done watching The Winter Soldier, and what is Cap doing in The Winter Soldier?
Running.
He's running from an organization that
is unjust.
Just got corrupted, right, by Hydra. And the Sokovia Accords are them trying to re-control them with another organization. And what do you think Cap is going to think about that?
that he.
No way.
Yeah.
He was like, "Hey, dude, I just spent the last movie fighting an organization that was like that got corrupted."
Well, like I said, he mirrors it with Bucky. He's like, well, then I don't have a choice. Bucky did not have a choice. He's like, well, no, I don't have a choice. That's not good. So
right, and he does want to have a choice here, right? In this, so I basically my viewpoint on this, as far as taking a look at what the Bible says, is that the Bible tells us not to be unequally yoked, right? So we need to understand. And we've been talking about this a lot in the family. If we're going to associate ourselves with an organization and we're going to make ties to that organization, we need to have the same ethics and standards that organization does, or that organization have the same standards that we do, right? They should be basing the things that they do based on God. Well, I didn't have to go very far to find the biblical justification for that. When I looked at in Exodus 23:32, God is talking to the Israelites, telling them, "You shall not make a covenant with those heathen nations." And then Rushdoony makes a comment in his Exodus commentary saying, "There's a very strict ban on any covenant or treaty with any person or people who are not members of God's covenant. A covenant or treaty takes precedence over anything else." If you read this commentary there on Exodus, he's talking about how, when you think about even for our nation, we specifically were very hesitant about which countries we're going to align ourselves with historically, whether it's going to be France or whether it's going to be England, because when you make a covenant or contract treaty with your nation with another nation, then that treaty becomes binding, overruling over the Constitution, because you've made this treaty with them. Well, the problem is that you don't know what the state is of this other nation, or maybe you do know, and you're covenanting yourself with a bad, ungodly nation, which God's word does not want us to do, which America originally did not prescribe or did not pursue. So in this case, I think you can understand why Cap is making the same kind of decision. He's saying that, hey, even if these nations have good intentions, the United Nations Council, that doesn't mean that they're going to still employ us to defend people when maybe we need to. Right? Maybe we do need to go.
Which is exactly what they did in the movie when they told Iron Man that he couldn't go capture Cap or whatever. They basically, they gave him 34 hours, but they said originally they weren't going to let him go at all. And so I was like, why didn't you just see that they weren't allowing you to do that? You just almost didn't have the choice to do anything at all. Right.
You couldn't even go and help, because they could have just said, no, we're going to send a bunch of dudes with missiles and stuff.
Which wouldn't have solved the problem.
And when Tony found out that what Cap was saying about Bucky, him not actually blowing up the meeting, was true, he wanted to go and help Cap. But the Soviet Accord said that he couldn't go, and Thunderbolt Ross said, no, you're not going.
Right, so he had to sneak away, and at the end of the movie, Tony actually has to break the Sokovia Accords to go and confront Cap when they told him to, because...
He wasn't going to go and confront him. He was going to go help him because he heard about he believed what Captain was saying about the other super soldiers.
Yeah, so he did have to basically break the Sokovia Accords, the ones that he had signed.
Yes, the one he was trying to uphold and say, Cap, you need to sign these.
Right. So Cap's point is that basically we want to maintain our right to choose the choices that we need to make.
I think a far better choice that the UN could have done is that obviously a nation has the ability to exercise their nationalism and say that they don't wish for the Avengers to operate in their sovereign nation, which I think would have been a much better way to stop. Like if they had chosen to do that, let's say for the Sokovia Accords, if Sokovia had said that they don't want the Avengers to come into their city, whatever, then the Avengers would have upheld that, because the Avengers obviously they would be breaking the law then, and therefore would be wrong. So a nation can operate and exercise their nationalism, which is perfectly acceptable. Now, if a nation or nations try to exercise control over someone that is not under their jurisdiction or in their nation, then that is where the line is drawn for what is wrong, because if they're trying to control the Avengers, then that is wrong. Now, if they said that the Avengers weren't allowed to operate in their country, then that would have been perfectly acceptable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as far as maintaining the sovereignty of individual nations and their ability to make decisions for themselves.
Yeah.
Right. All right, good deal. Anything else here?
Yeah, I wanted to talk for a few minutes about Lieutenant Colonel James Rhodes and what you guys all thought about him, because I was very shocked at his...
You mean War Machine?
Oh, yeah, War Machine. His just very cowardice view of the whole Sokovia Accords, and how he basically, my impression through that main conversation that was had is that he is just there because the big guys or the UN said so. He said, whatever, that it's the UN, 117 countries, like all these big dudes are saying that we're supposed to do this, so let's do it because they all said we have to.
Right.
Like, that's very...
Like, my principled stance is other people that I think are important are telling me to do this.
Like appeal to the authority?
An appeal to authority. There you go. Good job. Yeah, great. Yeah, which is ridiculous, right?
Yeah, it's just the majority, whoever the majority decides.
Right, and just because they have a so-called authority doesn't make them right.
Which is sort of like a democracy. He has a very democratic view.
Mm-hmm. Right. Absolutely. Good work. Okay, great. Awesome. Well, everybody, I hope you enjoyed here our Recon Reviews episode 5. We were talking about Captain America, both the Winter Soldier and Civil War. Thanks so much, everybody, for coming to see it. Rams, thanks so much for joining in and participating.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure.
Thank you again, sis. Thanks. All right, everyone. So catch us again. Check us out again later. We've got more episodes coming out. Get a chance, and if you can, visit our blogs, ReconstructionLife.com, Young Men with Purpose, ReconstructionLife.com. You go to our YouTube channel, Google Plus page, and ReconCast is now on iTunes. So hopefully you're listening to us, following us on iTunes, where you can get those streams, those podcasts coming. All right, everybody. So thanks so much. You guys have a great day. Take care. Bye.